Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about the new Freeform show, Cruel Summer. Jessica Biel is the executive producer of the show. She was also the executive producer of the shows The Sinner and Limetown, and I really enjoyed and was really creeped out by both of those shows. So what I'm trying to say is basically that she's really good at making creepy crime shows, and this is no exception. This show is really, really good. So there are 10 episodes in the season, but this review is just of the first 3 episodes, and I'm going to be making another 3 videos over the course of the next few weeks as the show progresses, so be sure to subscribe if you're interested in following along. So this show is set in a small town in Texas, and it's about a teenager, Kate Wallace, who gets kidnapped. Kate Wallace is basically the pretty popular girl of the show, and Jeanette Turner is kind of the plain Jane. And we're going to see how these girls come to be involved in each other's lives and how their lives are also impacted by the kidnapping and by Kate's eventual return home. There are a lot of lies, a lot of secrets, a lot of twists and turns, so let's get into it. So this show has 3 timelines. We have 1993, prior to Kate's abduction. Jeanette Turner is still pretty innocent, I guess. She has braces, frizzy hair, still enjoys hanging out with her friends Mallory and Vincent. I bring up the braces and the frizzy hair and the glasses because she's going to go through a significant physical change, which is quite important. Of course, this is also when we see that Jeanette eventually becomes taken with Kate, but for the most part, she seems quite happy. In 1994, this is when Kate Wallace goes missing, and Jeanette eventually becomes best friends with Kate's best friends, and she starts dating Kate's boyfriend, Jamie, and there's a kind of rivalry between Jeanette and her old friends, especially Mallory. Vincent still kind of supports Jeanette through it all, and even though he still sticks around with Mallory, he defends Jeanette. This is also when Jeanette goes through her significant physical change. No more glasses, no more braces. She straightened her hair and she dresses a little bit fashionable, I guess. Then 1995 is basically present day. Kate has returned from her abduction and there is a trial looming. So the show switches between all these years. It's not in chronological order, but for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to describe everything chronologically. So it's the summer of 1993 and we open with Jeanette's birthday. She celebrates with her family, she's really close with them, and then with her friends Mallory and Vincent. At one point the group of friends go to the mall, and that's where Jeanette sees Kate. She's quite taken with Kate and Kate's boyfriend, who swoops in to kiss her. Kate is pretty, she's kind, she wishes Jeanette a happy birthday, but this interaction seems to mean more to Jeanette. It's not clear that she's jealous or anything, just maybe a little envious of what looks to be pretty popular Kate's perfect life. Eventually her friends catch up with her and they end up buying her this necklace for her birthday, and this necklace is going to be quite important in the story. So Jeanette and her friends decide that this summer they want to do something daring and illegal. So they go to Jeanette's dad's real estate's office and they steal the keys to a nearby house. They go and play hide and seek in there. Jeanette isn't initially very excited about it. It's mostly Mallory who's kind of irritating and she's pushing it, but because they get away with it, Jeanette becomes excited by it and I guess she'll eventually dare to do more. What happens at the house is also really important. At one point, the owner of the house, the new assistant principal, Martin Harris, catches Jeanette in the house and she makes up a lie about why she's there in order to give Mallory and Vincent time to escape. Jeanette also shows Martin the basement of the house under the guise of there being a stain on the carpet or something that her father might have missed. Point here being that she knows her way around this house, or at the very least she knows where the basement is, and that's important. After this all, Jeanette does get a little bit giddy because Martin is quite young and he pays her attention, but eventually her and her friends leave. Meanwhile, in Kate's life, she's having a bit of a rough go of it. She finds out that both of her parents are having affairs, and she does confront her mother about it, and her mother is really dismissive, and they kind of get into a fight. It's when she catches her mother cheating that she decides to run off, and that's when Martin finds her. By the end of the 3rd episode, however, we just see that this is when Martin meets Kate formally for the first time. We don't know if this is when he kidnaps her. In 1994, we see that Jeanette and Jamie are now dating. We find out later Jamie tells Kate that Jeanette helped him put up some missing flyers after Kate disappeared, and the relationship just kind of blossomed from there. Jeanette and Jamie do seem happy. She gushes to her new friends about her experience of losing her virginity to him, and he tells his friend that he really likes her. This is where we see there's a kind of single white female situation going on, which we kind of knew already, where Jeanette has not only become best friends with Kate's best friends, but now she's she's dating Kate's boyfriend. We also see Mallory and Vincent arguing. Mallory thinks that Jeanette has changed and has modeled herself after Kate, and she has dumped them as friends. Meanwhile, on the news, there are a lot of bulletins about Kate going missing and her family hoping that she returns home safely. By the way, at one point, when Jeanette and Jamie are dating, there's a gunshot outside, and Jeanette is alarmed, but Jamie is almost forceful in telling her that it's nothing. This doesn't seem to have anything to do with Kate, because she's been missing for a while by the time Jeanette and Jamie are together. This is a weird moment though, and I wonder if the show's going to come back to it, because it seems like it could be significant. Eventually, when Kate is found, Jeanette's reaction is also really interesting. Strange, really. She just assumes that it was Kate's body that was found, that she's dead, and she just seems really stressed by Kate being found in general. I don't know if this is a red herring. I mean, she could also just be stressed because she knows that once Kate comes back, Kate's going to reclaim her friends and perhaps her boyfriend, and then what's going to happen to Jeanette? So Kate is back, and then that's when the rumour mill starts. The biggest rumour obviously being that Jeanette knew that Kate was being held in Mr. Martin's basement, that she saw Kate and didn't say anything. This causes Jeanette's brother to even not be allowed to work at a party until things calm down. So the whole family has been painted in a bad light because of this little rumour scandal. At this point, Kate is really struggling to acclimate to life back home. She has a hard time relating to her friends, and while she's with Jamie, things between them have changed. At one point, she sees a page on Jamie's pager to meet Jeanette, and she follows Jamie to the meeting. At that meeting, Jamie is angry at Jeanette, asking her if she knew where Kate was, and Jeanette says no, that it's just Kate's trauma speaking. They end up kissing, and Kate sees this. Her time at home is also really difficult. Her mother is glad to have her back, but she just wants things to go back to the way they were, and she doesn't really know how to, deal with Kate's trauma. Anyway, Kate joins a forum, an online forum, where she gets to communicate anonymously, and she writes in one of the scenes that she hasn't been completely honest and that she's scared of people finding that out. Kate also eventually does a national TV sit-down interview where she officially announces that Jeanette saw her in captivity, and she expected the police to come and rescue her shortly after that, but months went by before the police came. Kate does eventually go to the police with the accusation, and she presents Jeanette's necklace as proof that Jeanette saw her. Now, in the present day, we see that Jeanette is a pariah and that even the governor called her a disgrace. We see that her parents are now divorced, and Jeanette is lonely. She doesn't have many friends except for Vincent, who we see still sticks by her. At this time, we assume that Jeanette is going to be on trial for supposedly seeing Kate and not saying anything. But by the end of episode 2, the big reveal is that it's actually Jeanette's family that's suing Kate's family for defamation over those allegations. When the lawsuit is announced on TV, we get to see Kate's expression, which is one of absolute horror. I guess being sued for anything would make a person scared, but there seems to be more to it than that. In episode 3, we found out a few things that happened in 1993, and there is a clear picture beginning to form of Jeanette's physical transformation. Not only that, but her personality starts to kind of change as well. I previously thought it was a simple single white female situation that she just wanted to copy Kate, but it's not really that simple. In fact, even after seeing Kate twice, it's not like Jeanette wants to change or that she does change. She still hangs out with her friends. She doesn't mind wearing glasses even when her mom suggests contacts, and she's still happy Jeanette. We do see the changes starting throughout the episode though. Jeanette's mother tells her that back in their high school days, Kate's mother and Jeanette's mother were kind of friends, and that it was Jeanette's mother who was the popular girl in school. Remember that this has since changed. Kate's mother is now this waspy lady who thinks she's too good for the Turners. Jeanette's mother says to her that, maybe Jeanette can branch out a bit with her friends and perhaps talk to Kate. Her mother says that when the braces come off, Jeanette will be dynamite. She does still encourage Jeanette to make up with her friend Mallory, who she's had a tiff with, but you see Jeanette's mom wistfully reminiscing about the good old days when she was young and popular, and this does have some kind of effect on Jeanette, even though it's not immediate. Kate. By the way, in the present day, Jeanette doesn't actually talk to her mother anymore. She isn't taking her calls. She lives with her dad, who might have a drinking issue, and her hot brother comes by sporadically to do free laundry. At one point in 1993, Jeanette sneaks into Mr. Harris's house again, and she ends up stealing Martin's old yearbook to patch things up with Mallory. They had this fight earlier, and Jeanette wanted to prove to Mallory that she took their whole doing illegal things pledge seriously, and she later on in the present day does tell Vince that she went to this house a couple of times more, actually, that she became addicted to the rush of breaking into the house. Well, she still has the key from when they stole it at her dad's office. Later on, when Vince is being deposed, he's being asked by lawyers about whether Jeanette ever went back to that house after the initial time they went there to play hide and seek. He says not that he knows of, so he's basically lying to the lawyers. In 1994, after Kate has come home, we do see that Kate and Jeanette do have a run-in. Kate confronts Jeanette in the middle of traffic about not saying anything about seeing her in the basement. Kate looks genuinely upset here, and it looks as though there could be some truth to her accusation that Jeanette saw her. Of course, we can't know that, but her motions in this scene look very real. As it's announced that Kate is coming out with her story about the abduction, the rumor is already all around town about Jeanette, and her family is obviously starting to be shunned. Jeanette's dad and her hot brother go and confront Jamie for hitting Jeanette, something that actually happened in the previous episode. We also see at some point that the town is just reeling over the bombshell that Jeanette's family is going to be suing Kate for defamation. Obviously, the whole town is Team Kate, and there are a lot of late night talk shows and daytime TV hosts talking about how heartless it is that Jeanette, the so-called villain, is going to be suing the victim, Kate. Eventually, the cops bring Jeanette down to the station for questioning. It's clear that she's not being charged with anything, but they want some answers, especially how Kate got Jeanette's necklace. She kind of lies at first, trying to deny that it's hers, and then she tells the police that she doesn't know how Kate got it, but she had thrown her one away. There's also a really sweet part of the show where we see Vince go to a party with a guy that he's seeing, Ben, and they hold hands. It's very cute. It turns out to be a party that is a safe space for LGBT youth and people, and it's just nice to see something wholesome and sweet on the show, and a part of Vincent's life that doesn't completely involve Jeanette. Although it's suggested in the present day that that relationship is affected by the fallout of Kate's abduction, her return, and the lawsuit, it's fine. We can just enjoy this for now. There's also a very interesting scene where the Turner family is out seeing fireworks, and yeah, the rest of the town kind of hates them at this point, but they're there anyway, and Jeanette manages to talk to Jamie. Jamie tells Jeanette that now that he's back with Kate, he can't abandon her. He also brings up the fact that Jeanette was the first person to know that Kate went missing, and in fact Jeanette was somehow the only person to know that, and how did she know? We don't really get a conclusive answer, but yeah, that's definitely something. By the end of the episode, we also see 1993 innocent Jeanette posing with a joint in front of the mirror. And this is notable because earlier in the episode, she absolutely refused to experiment with it with Vince and Mallory. She even makes a show about flushing the joint down the toilet, which is why they got into that fight in the first place. So Jeanette is lying and starting to keep secrets from her friends. Okay, so now for my thoughts. Kate is obviously the victim of horrendous abuse, but she also has secrets that she doesn't want to come out. I'm hoping it has nothing to do with some kind of romance storyline with her and Martin, because we all know it's grooming and abuse anyway, and she shouldn't feel guilty for that. Even if she felt that at one point she was giving consent to Martin, she absolutely couldn't have, because she is underage. But we never know how a teenager's brain works. Perhaps she feels some guilt over that. This is just my own theory, though, to explain why Kate would possibly feel guilty for anything. There is no suggestion in the show that there was a relationship between the two beyond him being her abductor and her abuser. I'm assuming that since we know now that Jeanette went back to the house multiple times, her necklace definitely could have fallen and Kate might have found it, or perhaps Martin gave it to Kate as some kind of gift in captivity. I don't think that Kate is lying altogether about seeing Jeanette, but I'm not ready to believe that Jeanette actually saw Kate and didn't say anything. There has been a theory that's been floated around about a possible double-sided mirror, so there's that as well. All that said, Jamie being suspicious of Jeanette knowing that Kate was missing so soon, that really stood out to me. The two girls weren't even friends as far as we know at that point. How would Jeanette know? Also, 1994 Jeanette, at least from what we've seen, was very protective of her life with Jamie and her new friends, to the point where she was a little bit, I don't know, naive or a bit delusional about it. Kate had come back and she still kind of thought that everything would be the same. Still, from what I see of future Jeanette, she's not a psychopath, and what Kate's accusing her of is so ghoulish that I have a tough time believing that Jeanette is the villain here. As for Jamie, while I don't think he had a hand in Kate's disappearance, there's something about him that I don't trust. I mean, at one point he does punch Jeanette in the face, and he stalks her to the point where the police have to come to his house to tell him to stop. So he at the very least has some very serious anger issues. By the way, the most pleasant surprise was hearing him speak Spanish. But yeah, I have my eye on this guy, and I also won't forget his weird reaction to the gunshot. Anyway, that's it for the first 3 episode recap. If you like this video and would like to see more recaps, please be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.